Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
What is going on, my friends? Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it's politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we're diving deep and keeping it real, so please do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. On today's conversation, my friends, look, we are going to have a great convo with a good friend of mine, Miss Jennifer Naperala, who is currently running for Chesapeake City Council. She is one of the 5 Democratic endorsed candidates, and it is a jam-packed race. She is a friend of the show. We had her on prior. She's always cared about the community. She has run before for city council as an independent, and then afterwards she had ran for Commissioner of Revenue and came very close to being elected as the new Commissioner of Revenue for the city of Chesapeake. Now she's back again pursuing council here in the city of Chesapeake, the great city of Chesapeake, second largest population-wise in the state of Virginia. And look, Chesapeake, and it's my home city, is filled with some issues. It is a wonderful city, but like I mentioned, it does have its flaws, right? We have a at-large council. When you look at other cities, especially, I'll just kind of break it down for you. So in the 7 cities, Hampton Roads area, there's 7 cities. You have Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk, Hampton, Newport News, Suffolk, and I think I said Portsmouth. I can't remember if I did or not, but you have the 7 cities, and out of all of them, there's 3 that are currently at large. Chesapeake is one of them, Portsmouth, and I want to say Hampton. Okay, now Portsmouth has around like 95,000 plus people in the city. Hampton has around like 120. Now Chesapeake has 260,000 plus in the city. We have more people that live in Chesapeake than the city of Richmond, and Richmond has district ward systems. Why am I bringing this up? Because it's been an ongoing push from the people here in Chesapeake, because it's all about representation, having the right representation. And when you have at large, it's easy to ignore certain communities within the area. Now that's just one issue. I mean, we have lack of interest when it comes to certain neighborhoods, right? I'm talking the simple things: sidewalks, flooding, issues with rec centers and schools. I mean, there's so many complications. I can go on and on, but again, I'm just excited again to have Jennifer Naperala on, because she is someone that truly cares about the city of Chesapeake. And look, we're gonna have a great conversation, and I'm not gonna cookie code anything, because again, this is her 3rd attempt, you could say, of running for office here in the city. And it's like, I want to kind of dissect a little more and have her want to hear her side on why she's decided to run again for city council. So again, you guys are in for a treat. This is the Arrington Gavin Show. As always, my friends, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to tune in to yet another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. I believe this is episode 616. Yeah, I think it is 615. I'm sorry. No, I lied. 616. I see somebody in the back saying, no, it's 616. Okay, chill. I'm losing track. 616th episode, my friends. As you know, we drop new episodes weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on all podcast platforms: iHeart, Spotify, Apple, just to name a few. You can also listen to us on the radio airwaves. Shout out to our affiliates, WBOK 1230 AM out in New Orleans, where you can listen in weeknights at 7 p.m. Central here on the Arrington Gavin Show. And then we're going to head over to one of my favorite cities in the country. I'm talking about Las Vegas. That's right. And now, look, I'm not even a gambler. I just love the city. It's the city that never sleeps. I love the concerts. I love the entertainment. I love it all. But yeah, you can check out the Arrington Gavin Show Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific time on KSHP 1400 AM and 107.1 FM. So again, on your way to the casino, hopefully, you get lucky. If you do, and you're listening to our show, all I'm saying is you don't have to give me the full, I'm not the full, blame of why you won, right? I'm not your good luck charm, but just spot me off a little something, just, a couple bucks here and there. I appreciate it. But if you don't do that, well, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay. We have a goal to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're slowly but surely growing to get to that level. So if you can be so kind to just share with a friend, share with family of the Arrington Gavin Show. If you happen to be watching this video currently, give us a thumbs up. It helps with our algorithm, and leave us a comment. Let us know how the conversation is going and all that great stuff. You can also follow us on social media, on Instagram at the Arrington Gavin Show, Substack, X, where else are we on Facebook? And you can also and also check out our awesome website, www.theagshow.com. Those are other ways you can stay up to speed on the latest episodes. And lastly, I want to shout out GOATverse TV, which is a streaming platform that airs past episodes of the Arrington Gavin Show. GOATverse TV, you can download the app. It's available in the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire TV. So there is no excuse for those that are saying, I'm trying to get in touch with the show. How do I tune in? Look, we're pretty much everywhere. Okay. So before we head to a commercial break, I hope you all are, for one, staying safe out there. I hope you all are staying informed, because we got a lot of big elections happening. Obviously it's midterm season, so you have a lot of congressional races happening. But I love to talk local politics, because as important as it is to know what's going on in Washington on a federal level, guess what happens in Washington trickles down on a state level, trickles down to local. And the most important politics is your local politics, the ones that's happening in your backyard. So it's very important that you stay informed and up to speed on who serves what position, right? Or even define the position that they serve. I have a lot of friends that are saying, hey, look, commissioner of revenue, what is the position for that? Or city manager, what is that? Or what about clerk of court? What is that? What's the, did you know there's 3 branches, of government on local, right? You have the executive, legislative, and judicial. So there's so many branches, and it's so many positions that it's up to us to always stay informed, because knowledge is power. And I know my guest, Jennifer Naperala, can agree with me, because she is an educator. So knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you grow. And so as I mentioned, y'all, you're in for a treat here on the Arrington Gavin Show. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have on our special guest, Miss Jennifer Naperala, candidate running for Chesapeake City Council. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit, and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together, we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs, and we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up.
Yeah, that's that new Gold Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In GOATs, we trust.
6'10", number 1 pick, 16 seasons, College Player of the Year, All-Rookie Standout. Joe Smith built a career on grit, consistency, and showing up.
Greatness isn't just about the game. It's about how you show up every day. Rugged Evolution now offers body care products for every man, because not every man wears a beard, but every man deserves care. Greatness doesn't fade.
It evolved. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Every beard deserves to be legendary, and every man deserves care.
I'm Aaron Phillips. Join me Saturdays at 12:30 as I host The Voice of 757. I'll share news, events, happenings, and the people that shape the 757. That's The Voice of 757, Saturday afternoon at 12:30 right here on Sky 4.
All right, family, welcome back to the show. Now, look, as we get closer to Election Day, local races are taking center stage. Tonight, we're focusing on one that will have a direct impact on the daily lives of Chesapeake residents, from traffic and public safety to economy development, schools, housing, and the future growth of the city. The decisions made at City Hall affect every neighborhood and every family. Tonight, we're joined by Jennifer Naperala, one of the 5 Democratic endorsed candidates of Chesapeake City Council. She has previously run for City Council as an independent and later sought the office of Commissioner of Revenue with Democratic support, giving her a unique political journey and perspective on local leadership. As always on this show, the goal isn't to score political points. It is to have an honest, respectful conversation that helps voters better understand the people asking for their vote. We'll discuss her vision for Chesapeake, the challenges facing the city, and issues that matter the most across every zip code. Whether you are a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or someone who simply is just tired of the noise, we invite you to listen with an open mind and stay engaged. After all, local government is often where the decisions that impact us the most are made. Look, I'm grateful to welcome again my good friend Jennifer Naperala to the show. Let's bring her on. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm great, Arrington. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, you have it is look, Chesapeake has so many issues that we can, name going on. But for those, just for my listeners, for those who are not quite, not too familiar with you, if you don't mind just sharing a brief background about yourself and then also kind of lead it on to your reasons to run for city council.
Sure. I'd be happy to. So I am Jennifer Naperala. I've been a teacher with Chesapeake Public Schools for the last 26 years, 25 of them at Hickory High School. And maybe, 10 years ago or so, as my kids were getting older, I just started noticing inequities in the schools that really, really bothered me. And I started to do research on it. And honestly, everything kept bringing me back to, like what you were talking about earlier, the at-large voting system, which to me became this massive focus that we need to address as a city, at least come to terms with, do we want this or not, instead of having people tell us we will keep it. So I became involved really because of the at-large voting system. I just felt like we couldn't fix anything in the schools until we had a city where people who lived in different school districts had an equal voice at the table, which they currently don't. So that's what got me really active. And then I did run as an independent for city council, primarily because I struggled with what I felt was kind of a lack of willingness to have these conversations with the Democratic Party, meaning I didn't feel like people cared enough about the at-large voting. I didn't feel like people cared enough about my affordable housing platform. So rather than try to fit what I felt like I was a round peg into a square hole, I ran as an independent. And as an independent,
we got somebody that's trying to voice his opinion back there.
I'm sorry, he'll be back in a minute too. I'm sorry about that.
You're fine.
So I ran as an independent. And as an independent, I did remarkably well for an English teacher with no money. Well enough that the next year, honchos from the Democratic Party reached out to me, invited me to breakfast, and talked to me about running for Commissioner of the Revenue, which once I looked into the office, I realized, even as an English teacher, it is something that I was fully capable of managing, and it is an office that needs some oversight. So I went for it and ran for Commissioner of the Revenue and came very close to winning. Again, this nobody English teacher. So this year I didn't win, but I don't want to say it's for the best, because I would have done a great job and I would have enjoyed it. But the city as a whole and bringing relief more than just in financial ways is really what drives me. So I feel like I'm better suited for city council anyway. So that is why I am here for a third time running for office.
How would you answer the question to state residents and citizens? Again, they recognize the name, they recognize the face, they know that you ran for council before, but again, like you mentioned, you came very close to being elected as the new Commissioner of Revenue. So I would say that was a good position for you, because you were the solo Democratic nominee.
Correct.
And compared to running for city council as an independent, there were multiple names on there, so you had kind of center stage, so folks got to know more about you. But how would you respond to residents as like, okay, she's back, she's running for city council, how can we even trust you to make sure that this is truly your passion on serving on council and not, and I say that to play a little devil's advocate, because residents are always going to be questioned, especially during these current climates. I mean, obviously, I shared earlier issues going on a federal level that's trickling down in the state, we are feeling the effects locally. They want to make sure they truly, and I use the word hire a lot because elected officials work for the people.
That's
so
right.
Voters are looking to see, okay, if I want to hire this candidate to do this position, I want to make sure that they're truly passionate and they are serious about this position. You know what I mean? If that question kind of makes sense.
Yes, it makes 100% sense, and that's what I hope all voters are doing. I understand where people might say, where does her interest lie? My interest lies in public service, 100%, and doing the best that I can for the city. So running for city council now, with the information and the understanding that I have of how the fiscal system works now, or the commissioner's office works, I feel even more prepared and stronger as a city council candidate than I did before, because I did so much research learning about the commissioner's position before. So if anything, I'm a more informed candidate than I was last year.
And that actually answered my answer to another question I was going to ask was, what makes you a qualified candidate for running for city council? So you pretty much answered that. If I might ask though, did you learn any other things while campaigning prior? Even starting for city council and commissioner, just with the two experiences, anything that you've learned that continues to make you, I would say, a stronger candidate? Because I mentioned you are a Democratic endorsed candidate, which is it's a big deal being endorsed by a local party here. It's a packed race, as I mentioned earlier as well too. But were there any other things that you learned amongst the way that you can say, well, this is where I'm going to, and not trying to give off your secrets, but I'm just saying, learning. I mean, more learning experiences.
Two things. Number one, there's no there's nothing equal to actually meeting people, going out and having conversations with people who live in Chesapeake and listening to their concerns. I don't think there's anything stronger than that, at least for me, learning how to best serve people. The other point that I want to make is, with our current voting system, as much as we want to be independent voters, it's impossible for an independent candidate to win. So yes, the two-party system can be super frustrating. I totally understand that. But Chesapeake right now is not built for a third party to run and be successful. So I think those are the two biggest takeaways that I have. It's just the city is just too massive, and you're trying to reach too many people. And as one person, that's impossible to do.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's not even just on a local level. I think you see that nationwide. So that's
Right.
that's an issue that you do see difficulty with. Jennifer, I want to talk issues happening in Chesapeake. So say I am a longtime Chesapeake resident that's not quite involved politically, or I would say informed when it comes to issues happening per se, because hey, I'm just John Doe from this side of town that stays on this side of town, and I only stayed there, so I don't know the issues that happen overall. If you don't mind sharing, some issues that are currently that Chesapeake residents and voters currently face here in the city.
I think a huge one is affordability. Right now, that's just a massive problem nationwide. I was at a Civic League meeting the other night, and the police officer who was there spoke about crime, and she said all of our crime is down with the exception of shoplifting. And to me, that made perfect sense, because what drives crime is need. And people were struggling to find jobs. We're struggling to support our families. We're struggling to stay housed. So it makes perfect sense to me that people are resorting to things like shoplifting to maybe put clothes on their back or food in their stomachs. So that's just such a complicated issue. We need people to get into homes they can afford. We need people to have jobs that are being taken away by AI. So it's just kind of the perfect storm for low-income folks right now to really struggle in Chesapeake. So and young people, like recent college graduates. You don't even have to be, when I say low income, I don't mean I mean anybody who's not, I am low income. I make $80-some thousand a year, and I am considered low income. So it's just a really difficult time right now for people financially.
Yeah, and that's something that I hear as well on a regular. I mean, being a lifelong, born and raised in the city, I've heard it all. Like, hey, I just graduated from college. I would love to live. I just got a job in Chesapeake. I would love to live here, but I can't afford here. So I have to literally find a city in Hampton Roads that I can afford. And I've heard people have to move all the way to Suffolk, or I need to cross state line and move to Moyock, North Carolina, just because it's affordable for me. And so it's unfortunate, because every city should make it affordable for folks that truly want to stay in, and love the area. And I'll just be honest, being a lifelong Chesapeake resident, I have come to realize, I'm like, I don't know why I look at, okay, the top two expensive cities in Hampton Roads, in my opinion, is Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. Now, the difference between the two is Virginia Beach has event areas. They have venues. They have beaches. They have a town center, for crying out loud. They have things that I can see why, okay, it might raise up property value. I don't quite see that in Chesapeake. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a newly built, I guess you can call it somewhat of a downtown in Summit Point, beautiful structure, but it's literally like 4 shops. I mean, it's not a real like downtown area. We have a mall that's closing pretty much. I see stuff that is like, okay, why so expensive to move here? Why is it difficult to move here? And that is frustrating, because we see a lot of we see a lot of folks that lived here for years that was like, man, I don't know if I can really afford to stay here in Chesapeake. And then you mentioned more affordable housing, because around my office I see a number of homeless people that are just, and it's sad because I mean we're in a very hot climate right now, and I'm seeing people with bundles of stuff, and it's like, okay, where exactly can they be housed? Where is this going? And it's frustrating. And I guess that leads me to the question, Jennifer, what in your opinion has council had wrong? I mean, what issues have they not dealt with? Because obviously you're running for a reason to, because a lack happening on council. What are some of your issues? I know you've mentioned affordability, but what are some things you've seen firsthand and you're like, you got this wrong? I'm telling you, this is not the way to do it. It's not the way to go.
Well, speaking of housing, the candidates and I met with the director of, I think it's the Norfolk Housing Commission last week. And we got some really good ideas from her on how Norfolk is managing affordable housing. And what they are doing is taking some of the like low use hotels where like gig workers will stay and turning those into inexpensive like studio apartments for people to stay in and that hopefully is going to revitalize those areas. I think in Chesapeake we have to start thinking creatively about using building and structures that we already have and reimagining them in ways that are going to serve people that are not necessarily going to be able to buy a single family home somewhere yet.
Yeah.
So I think there are opportunities that we have. We just need to be creative enough and willing to try something that hasn't necessarily been done before. So, nobody wants, we've got a lot, people are like, I like the way things are now, which I kind of get that. I mean, I do get it, but that's not sustainable.
And that's a very just still level, hint, a very still, like the still water. It's an inside joke, ladies and gents. You'll know a little later on, but it's a very still plane where it's like, okay, you either want to stay on that same surface, or do you want to, at least grow? You got to have growth at the end of the day. You can't just stay in one place. And I understand people are like, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I'm comfortable the way it looks, X, Y, and Z. But it's like, but that's not growth, in my opinion. I look at we have a lot of structures being newly built in Greenbrier. I'm like, okay, everything can't be in Greenbrier. We have rural Chesapeake. We have communities that are overlooked that kind of goes into the what you mentioned, how you advocated so hard on the having a single member voting system, ward or a district system, because there's communities that we have food deserts in certain areas. That's right. And it's like one neck of the woods is like getting all the attention. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong with that picture. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm asking you, how do you balance, or how would you want to, how would you balance still keeping that community comfortable with those that don't want to see a lot of growth, but still you have to attract businesses. You still have to bring in things to keep the community growing. So how would you how would you balance, like new businesses while still protecting the character of, say, established neighborhoods? Because Chesapeake is growing. I mean, we have folks that are, from the area that really can't afford, but they work in the area. We have a lot of folks that are pursuing to move to Chesapeake because, hey, I want to start a family, and Chesapeake has always kind of marketed themselves as the family city, the city to grow a family. So how do you balance, how would you balance attracting the new businesses and still kind of keeping those established communities,
I think what you just said is super important. We are not going to be able to attract new businesses if we can't keep people in the city. If everyone is going to move out of the city as soon as they graduate high school or graduate college, if we're pricing out our middle income folks and below, we're not going to be able to attract new businesses. So we have to recognize that there has to be space for everyone. We're never going to be a city that doesn't have a working class. We just have to be. So, and I don't think that that's really unattainable. I mean, people who are in established communities, I recognize the desire not to have impact. And as a matter of fact, I live in Southern Chesapeake, and we've been dealing with this poo-poo for a long time. So I can tell you, I get it. And there has to be a balance, like you say, and paving over Southern Chesapeake in order to put up more expensive homes is not going to be the answer, because that's not going to bring in new businesses. It's just repeating what we're doing, and what we're doing right now is not successful. So we need to look inward and areas that we can revitalize and bring life into them rather than ignore them.
Very true. Another thing I want to bring up too, Jennifer, and this has been kind of on and off with the state of Virginia. I haven't heard quite too much of it here, but it still is a big issue. Data centers. I'm hearing a lot about data centers. I guess I want to ask, should Chesapeake place greater restrictions on data centers and large industrial developments, or are they necessary for economic growth in the city?
I 100% think that we should not. I don't support data centers in Chesapeake at all. I know right now I think, as a matter of fact, the city council is talking about leaving this coastal commerce center, which is down by the North Carolina border. The current city council wants that to remain. It's called buy-in or something. It means that a data center can go in without having to rezone the area. They just, as long as the land is zoned for this massive structure to go in, then city council can approve it. There doesn't have to be any, voting. So that I'm opposed to that. Other than this massive influx of gig workers for the first few months of the building of the structure, they don't provide jobs. And so far, what we know is that they just drive up the costs of the people who live in those cities. Our power will go up, our water will go up, and we, the citizens, don't get anything out of it. The city might get more, the city might have more income, but at the cost of piece of quality of life, I don't think that that's worth it. There's something called a co-locator. Virginia Beach has 2 of them. Chesapeake has one smaller one, but all the area, a lot of the areas in the Hampton Roads, a lot of cities have invested millions and millions of dollars into these fiber optic, super light speed cable systems. These co-locators they are for multiple businesses. So it's like a mini data center for multiple businesses. And it has to be in a commerce area because they're built either in an existing structure or like an adjacent to one. So multiple businesses can use them. I think it's within reason that if we have a commerce area where residential homes are not going to be upset or disrupted by a co-locator facility, I think those are viable. Maybe one more. But as far as a data center, no, I don't think that Chesapeake is home for a data center. I just don't see any long-term value in it for us at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I keep on hearing about, this is, side note for folks, and I've shared this on my, sorry about that. I've shared it with folks. I've shared it on the show prior. There was a data center battle happening in the Commonwealth, and when I'm reading about, Virginia has like the highest. We actually help a lot of I don't know what it is. It's like internet or it's everybody basically relies on the Commonwealth because we have the largest and we have some of the largest data centers. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, my TV is buffering right now, and I have the highest speed internet. And I'm like, where is this at? I'm like, so to kind of add on what you're saying, we don't get anything out of it. You're damn right we don't. I'm like, because I've been paying the highest for internet, and I'm like, where is this coming from? So I think a lot of folks will agree with you in not in favor of the data center, and if so, they're gonna have to pay their fair share in taxes to benefit and to go back into the community. Speaking of taxes, though, if you had to cut 5% from the city budget tomorrow, where would you look first?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, simply because I studied it so carefully, I think the commissioner of the revenue's office has a lot of fat that we can trim. They have invested a lot of money in programs and like AI does a lot of the thinking for the office anymore. So the size of the staff is not necessarily it doesn't balance out, in my opinion. So, and not to mention the fact that there was so much slow down and hold up on payments from, I just think it's a very inefficiently run office. So I would really look at the office management of the areas of the city and kind of see what we can, I'm not saying doge the city or anything at all like that, but I do think we have gaps in employment in some areas where maybe we can repurpose our employees, and rather than having them work in an inefficient position that really is redundant, we could offer them some sort of other employment where we could use their talents better. So I think there's just, I'm not saying there's a lot of fat to trim, but I do think that there are some adjustments that we could make that would make the city run a lot better.
And this is kind of a corny question to ask, but I've a lot of my friends or people that I've spoken with that are educators are not all the way fond of AI. There's some that says, hey, look, I don't mind it. It is a resourceful tool, but I do notice a lot of educators are not crazy about AI. So I guess I asked you, being an educator in the city for many years, what's your overall like grade on AI? Do you see it as a resourceful tool of, or do you see it as like, this is continuing to like, I hate to use it, but kind of like dumb us down as a society?
I think if kids were mature enough to use it responsibly, then it could be positive. But kids are kids, and they're not going to be able to use it responsibly because it's just too tempting and it's just right there. And as a matter of fact, I've been teaching seniors for years, and I went to my principal. I was so just frustrated by the lack of writing skills and basic grammar that my seniors are coming to me with. I'm teaching freshmen next year, so I can try to impose some sort of structure on their thinking process and like kind of elevate the rigor of what they're doing in the classroom. And I can tell you that's not going to be using their Chromebooks. There's just too many distractions already in the classroom. When we were in school, we were passing notes. That was bad enough. Now they're doing everything. They're playing Minecraft in the classroom while I'm trying to teach. So it's just, I think, there might be some good uses for AI, but I don't think it's in the public school system right now. There's just not enough guardrails on the system, and the kids just have too many like off ramps to jump off on.
So now that's just for school. I mean, look, overall, I mean, you have major corporations, investing, in AI, as you mentioned, the Commissioner of Revenue's office utilize, artificial intelligence. I mean, if you go to, just grocery stores in general, self-checkout, there is nobody, standing behind, assisting you. They might have one person managing 20 different, 20 different ways. What I'm saying is like everything is going technology anyway. So it's like, it's not, I see the kids, utilizing it, but I see a lot of adults. I mean, I'm guilty. I use AI, pretty heavy, just for the sake of time. But I do agree that it's sometimes when you utilize stuff that kind of does the work for you, does that really stimulate my mind better? Does that help me as a thinker, as an independent thinker?
And what we're also doing is we're putting our people out of work.
Yeah.
So, for example, flock cameras, this surveillance system, and people are super concerned about being overly surveilled, which I completely understand. Last year we had something like 336 flock cameras in Chesapeake. Today I went on the City of Chesapeake's website, and I think we're up to 400 and something was the number of surveillance cameras. Now, when you look at where the surveillance cameras are, there's one that goes on 168 right at the North Carolina border and one on 17 at the North Carolina border. Having spoken with police officers, those cameras that are on major thoroughfares are helpful to them because they can then track someone who might be actually having committed a serious crime. But when you look at the others, they're packed into low income and minority neighborhoods. So that is a negative, obviously. And the other thing, on one side, it's a negative because nobody wants to be surveilled like that. Nobody wants to be watched like that.
Yeah.
And the other side of it is we're, I think, losing touch with each other, and we're not going to be able, our police force is going to become more and more distant from us because it's becoming more and more mechanical. Tonight, as a matter of fact, City Council is voting on allowing technicians to check the box that says, yes, this is a moving violation for surveillance speeding tickets.
Wow.
So until today, a police officer had to look at those. Starting tomorrow, if it passes tonight at City Council, which I assume it will, because it happened at the state level, then they can train a technician, which is going to eventually put more and more of our law enforcement out of office or out of work. So when you ask about that kind of AI and that kind of electronic ease, I think ultimately it's not good at all. It's not.
And law enforcement are not getting, to me, their fair share of pay anyway. Correct. So I would hate for them to, again, be deducted something so that will affect their pay. It's interesting because whenever I think about that issue that's been brought up with the cameras in the city, I always think of that song. I always feel like somebody's watching. Like I'm literally, that goes in my head every time when I read about this. I'm like, why do I feel that? I just feel like playing that song. But it's true though, and folks are not quite happy, and that's a bipartisan issue. I want to ask you too, Jen, what's one area where the city should invest more aggressively?
I'm not sure what you mean by invest, but the one area,
not even just like, I mean, you could say money, you can say resources. What is an issue that is not being dealt with the most in the city that they should be addressing the most?
Pughesville. So the city of Pughesville, the area of Pughesville, it was established by formerly enslaved people. It's one of the first communities in the area. It is a legacy community. It is a historical community, and it's gravitationally drained, which means the only drainage they has comes from gravity. So, and because of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act and the western branch of the Elizabeth River, there's only so much that we can do construction wise because everything is super protected. So what we need to do as a city, now the folks who live there have been asking for this for years. Every time it rains, it's called nuisance flooding, which means every time there's a big rain, these folks have flooding in their yards. The drainage is terrible. Mosquitoes are breeding like crazy down there. So if I could choose one place to invest time and resources, it would be the Pughesville area, to provide drainage to the folks who live down that way, to provide sidewalks in areas in South Norfolk where kids can't go from neighbor to neighbor to play. But primarily the Pughesville area just desperately needs relief from the flooding that they've been dealing with for longer than we've been Chesapeake, and they've been ignored all along. It's insane.
And why is that? Because I every time I have a moment to watch some of the city hall meetings, and or if I go to a just a town hall forum, which we one thing, we really don't have a lot of those, which I feel like we should in the city of Chesapeake. So to keep, transparency is like my word of the year, and I feel as though voters feel a disconnect from their council. Like we only hear from folks when it's election season, and we don't really hear the most when it's the important occasion. Again, you have folks in Pewsville that feel like they're overlooked and ignored. Every time I watch a city council meeting and it's time for the public to speak, I'm always hearing somebody from Pewsville, and it's a different person. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's a different person, and it's like, okay, this happened this was 4 years ago, and they're still talking, or this happened 8 years ago. So why are they ignored in your opinion? Why is this issue has never been addressed?
The generous side of me will say it is a complicated issue. However, I was just down there last week taking pictures and talking to, I just walked up and knocked on doors, and the minute I told people I was running for city council and was asking for input, boy, they went inside, turned off the TV, came outside with their Crocs on and cameras, and walked me all over the place. So it's not the lack of trying. And it's the nicest thing that I can think to say is that there aren't enough voters down. The community is small, and even if the entire community came out and voted, I don't know that there's enough folks who live there to really frighten city council. And I don't know that city council is motivated by doing the right thing.
Does this relate to, again, the strong push from individuals like yourself and even voters having somewhat of a single member, a district or a ward system? Because again, with the transparency, being an at-large city it doesn't really come with a lot of good perks. I guess personal perks for people that are serving office, but not really for the voters. Now, I'm 31. As a kid, I could care less about politics. I just say, oh, council, mayor, yada yada yada. Then the older I get, I'm like, well, I mean, at large, people just got to get out and vote. Then when I start to get more involved, I'm like, wait a minute. It's easier for voters to contact their representative, their single representative, rather than trying to get a hold one of 9 members, because it is difficult. And I do community service work in South Norfolk, and my foundation, we partnered with a church there for at least the last 4 years. And every time I'm like, why is there a food desert? Why is this, this grocery store has been closed down for the longest? Why don't I see sidewalks? But I say if I go to visit my folks out in off of Mount Pleasant, basically the South Chesapeake side, I'm looking at a brand new sidewalk, and I'm like, oh wow, when did they put this together? And it's just, I don't know. It feels sad sometimes, and I'll be honest, it seems a little. It brings up the conversation of systematic racism, in my opinion, and that's my words. It's not Jennifer Naperala. That's me personally. It seems unfair because these folks have paid their fair share in taxes just like anybody else.
That's exactly right.
Is there two different, I guess, wealth classes may be, but it still shouldn't be like, okay, that side needs to be, treated like dirt. And so I guess, going with that, Jennifer, and we're getting kind of almost, we have a good amount of time left, but you've advocated so hard for single member voting before you were even thinking about running for office, and you still, even though you have your core issues that you're campaigning on, you still have said, oh no, don't think I'm forgetting about. And I'm not talking for you, but I mean, am I kind of right in that space?
Yes, you are 100% right. There's part of me, so I find it very paternalistic, insulting, inappropriate for someone in office to say, we know what our voters want. And then when you have all these people rallying at your door saying we want single member voting, and then to be ignored is inexcusable, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So I am trying to temper. My personal belief is absolutely in Chesapeake, we have to have single member voting. However, if we can at least put a referendum on a ballot saying, do we want single member voting, and let the people vote and do it democratically, even that to me is a compromise that I'm not sure our current city council would be willing to make. As a matter of fact, they're not, because former council person Don Carey asked for a referendum on a ballot for single member voting, and city council voted him down. So it's not even something they're willing to entertain. So we at least have to entertain it, at least. And yes, I do believe that it's a.
And excuse me, I didn't mean. I would say, let me change my response to systematic discrimination more than, because there's Caucasians, there's Black folks, there's Hispanic folks. It's affecting folks specifically in those class of neighborhoods. So I just wanted to correct myself on that.
Yes, I agree. And if you look, just to kind of jump back to the flock cameras and to speak to that point, the highest density of flock cameras is not necessarily a Black neighborhood or a Hispanic neighborhood. It's a low income neighborhood. So our city council is very, very out of touch with regular people. And that is a result, I think, of the single member district and of just voter disenfranchisement, because when the same group of people keeps getting reelected and reelected and reelected, yes, you give up eventually. It's hard to get people motivated to go out and vote because of single member voting.
And you bring up a strong something I always bring up, especially during voting season. How do you encourage those who have been tired of the same old, those that say were initially, warriors that was active early voting, some of them working at polls? There are a number of people that said, I give. There's young people saying, why even bother? How do you, and you teach high schoolers that are eventually, will be the age to vote. How do you encourage young people and just those folks that just kind of given up still the importance of voting, and that, your vote is your voice? How do you, what's your, advice to them and reason to why you should always keep pushing and fighting?
I think the biggest reason is, if you don't, then you're part of the problem. So if you don't like the way things are and you're not trying, then I get it. It's frustrating, and I get it. It's sometimes infuriating to try and to just hit this brick wall over and over again. But if you don't stand there with your little pickaxe and keep trying, then we're never going to get anywhere. So it's even a little bit of progress takes so much effort, and it feels so tiny, but we just have to keep doing it. And honestly, over the last few years, I've seen, I think, an increase in voter engagement. So I'm hopeful for the future, and I'm hopeful that people are realizing that if we just sit back and do nothing, we're going to become even more hostile and even less in control of our current lives than we are. So I feel like we have no choice but to get out and try and vote.
You know what? I think we all have learned that elections have consequences. I think we can all agree that elections have consequences due to, again, issues we're seeing right now firsthand, not just in our communities, but on a national level. Jennifer, I guess my final couple of questions I want to ask. One, why should Chesapeake voters come November, and we also have early voting, but why should voters say, look, I want to choose Jennifer Naperala to represent us on city council? Why should folks choose you?
First and foremost, because I care about people over profits, and I always will. On my website, in that top, on my screen, it's the top right corner, but it's that little badge. I applied for recognition from this group called the Democracy Project, I think, but it's the Politician's Creed. Yes, that's it. It's a it's a nonpartisan group that accepts any applicant who is running for public service office, and you have to interview with them. And it's like a process. If you get through the first step, then you go to the second interview. They scour your social media. They interview people that, like my boss and the chair of the Democratic Committee. And basically that badge means I will serve people and their preferences over any sort of outside influence, including party expectations. Mm-hmm. So I truly am in it to serve Chesapeake. And I know that not everything I believe in is going to be popular with everyone, but everyone can always be confident that I am going to serve their best interest, not anyone else's, including my own or city council's.
Jennifer, if elected, what's some of your first few or first two initiatives that you are like, boom, this is what I'm gonna be hoping to bring to the table on city council?
The first thing I want to do is set up better communication between city council and the people. So like you were saying, one person calling to like hopefully hit 9 people. I intend to visit city civic league meetings at least twice a month around the city to stay in touch with people and to understand what their issues are. So first and foremost, we need a more open communication system between the citizens and city council. So that will be my first thing to facilitate. That really is just vitally important to me. The second thing, probably depending on where we are with our fight with data centers or surveillance cameras or whatever, but I really am also focused on these infrastructure issues. People deserve to be able to send their children outside to play and not have to worry about them not having a sidewalk to run down the street. People need to feel confident that their children are going to a school where the school has, there's a safe route to school. That kind of lack of attention to me I don't even know how to describe it, but it's not right. And I want people to recognize that they are valuable to the city of Chesapeake.
Understand. And Jennifer, if you don't mind sharing, how are ways folks can continue to get in contact? We have about 20 seconds. I know for those who are watching, you can see we have your website up, but for those who are listening, how can folks continue to stay up to date with you? And if they're not even from the city, if they want to contribute to your campaign, how are ways they can do that?
So my website is jennifernap.info. And I also have an Instagram page, which I think is Jennifer Nap for Chesapeake. And both of those, if anyone's interested in donating, both my website and my Instagram page have links to my Act Blue page, so people could make a donation if they want. Also, my email is jennifer@jennifernap.info. If you have any questions or input, please reach out, because I want to learn what people are concerned about. And that's the only way to learn, is to stay in touch with people.
Wonderful. Well, Jennifer, I truly appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to come here on the Arrington Gavin Show. If you don't mind, I'd love to chop it up with you just for a couple seconds after the show. But thank you. Best of luck on your campaign. It's going to be a tough one. A lot of candidates involved in this race. But again, we thank you and wishing you luck on your race.
Thanks so much, Arrington.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed yet another great convo here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Again, we spoke on some important issues happening in the city of Chesapeake. But look, these are issues happening, in all local cities, not just here in the Commonwealth, but in your state. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, stay blessed, stay safe, stay informed. And I will talk to you guys soon for another great convo here on the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm out.
That's it for tonight on the Arrington Gavin Show. Thanks for tapping in and keeping the conversation alive. Don't forget, stay connected with us on all platforms. Follow at Arrington Gavin on Instagram, Blue Sky, and X, and subscribe to the official Substack for exclusive takes and deep dives you won't get anywhere else. We're here every weeknight, same time, same energy, same real talk. Until next time, stay bold, stay sharp, and stay true. That's what we do on the Arrington Gavin Show. Peace.